Lily Harper had always believed Christmas was a season of miracles, a time when the world softened its edges and let a little magic seep through the cracks. For her, it wasn't just a holiday, it was a lifeline. This year, though, she decided to go bigger than ever. After months of scraping by, working double shifts at the diner, and raising 2 kids on her own, she wanted something to lift their spirits. So she poured her heart into transforming their modest suburban home into a winter wonderland. She spent late nights stringing up thousands of golden lights that danced along the roofline, draping garlands over the porch like emerald ribbons, and planting a forest of candy cane stakes along the walkway. In the front yard, she'd set up a dazzling display. A life-size sleigh pulled by reindeer she crafted with her kids, Ethan and Mia, using wire and twinkling LEDs. A cheerful Santa waved from the lawn, flanked by a family of snowmen she'd found at a thrift store and painstakingly repainted. It was her gift to her family and, in a way, to the whole neighborhood. When she flipped the switch that first night, the glow lit up the cul-de-sac, and for a moment, everything felt right. But the next morning, that magic was gone. Lily stepped outside, coffee mug in hand, expecting to see her masterpiece sparkling in the dawn light. Instead, she froze. The yard was barren. The lights, the garlands, the sleigh, the snowman, every trace of Christmas had vanished. Even the tiny star she'd hung in the oak tree was missing, vying the branches stark and empty against the gray sky. Her stomach lurched. She set the mug down on the porch and scanned the scene, her breath puffing out in frantic clouds. That's when she spotted it. A crisp, white note taped to her front door, its edges fluttering in the breeze. She ripped it off and read the words typed in a sterile, Times New Roman font. Saw unauthorized decorations removed per HOA guidelines. Comply immediately. Saw at the bottom, in a flourish of bold ink, was a name she knew too well, Victor Grayson, the HOA president. Her hands trembled as she crumpled the paper. Victor Grayson, the man who strutted around their quiet little neighborhood like he owned every blade of grass, every mailbox, every soul. He was a wiry, sharp-featured man in his 50s, with a perpetual smirk and a clipboard always tucked under his arm. For years, he'd ruled the HOA with an iron fist, issuing fines for weeds an inch too tall, banning birdhouses he deemed unsightly, and once threatening to sue a family for painting their garage door a shade of blue he didn't approve. But this, stealing her entire Christmas display in the dead of night, this was war. Lily stormed back inside, her slippers slapping against the hardwood, and grabbed her phone. She dialed her next-door neighbor, Jenna, a soft-spoken woman who'd lived there longer than anyone and always seemed to know the gossip. "Jenna, tell me you saw something last night," Lily said, her voice tight with barely contained rage. There was a pause, then a sigh. "Oh, Lily, it was Victor. I couldn't sleep, so I was up late reading by the window. Around 2 a.m., I saw him out there with a couple of guys from the HOA board. They had a truck, ladders, trash bags. They tore everything down. I wanted to warn you, but it happened so fast." Lily's grip on the phone tightened until her knuckles whitened. "They took the reindeer too? The ones the kids made?" "Everything," Jenna said, her voice heavy with sympathy. "Even that little star in the tree. It was like watching a SWAT team raid a holiday store." Lily hung up, her mind racing. She could still see Ethan and Mia's faces the night before, beaming as they twisted wire into antlers and giggled over where to place Santa's hat. This wasn't just vandalism, it was personal. Victor hadn't just stolen decorations. He'd stolen their joy. She sank into a kitchen chair, staring at the crumpled note on the table. For a moment, she considered letting it go. She was exhausted, overworked, and the last thing she needed was a fight with a petty tyrant. But then she thought of Victor's smug face, his clipped voice lecturing her at the last HOA meeting about community standards, and something snapped. No, he didn't get to win this one. She grabbed her phone again and opened her camera roll. She had photos, dozens of them from the night before. The house aglow, the kids posing with the sleigh, the snowmen lined up like a welcoming committee. Then she snapped new ones, the empty yard, the naked porch, the oak tree stripped bare. She logged into the neighborhood Facebook group and started typing, her fingers flying over the screen. Saw to my neighbors. Last night, Victor Grayson and the HOA broke on my property and stole every single Christmas decoration I had. No warning, no discussion, just a typed note calling them unauthorized. I spent weeks making my home festive for my kids and for all of us. Now it's gone. If Victor's bullied you too, say something. We don't have to take this. Saw she attached the before and after photos and hit post, her heart pounding. She didn't expect much, just a few likes, maybe a comment or two from Jenna. But within minutes, her phone buzzed. Then it buzzed again and again. Notifications flooded in. Angry emojis, gasps of disbelief, messages of support. Saw he fined me do lot $200 for a bird feeder last year, saw one neighbor wrote. Saw he made me rip out my rose bushes because they were too thorny, saw another added. Saw my son's basketball hoop got a citation because it was 2 inches too low. Saw the stories poured out, each more absurd than the last, painting a picture of a man who'd terrorized a neighborhood for years under the guise of order. By noon, the post had over 100 shares, and people she'd never met were tagging local news stations. Lily stared at her screen, stunned. She'd lit a match, and now the whole place was catching fire. She took a deep breath and made a decision. If Victor wanted a fight, she'd give him one. She called Channel 7, the biggest station in town, known for its investigative pieces. A producer picked up, and when Lily explained what happened, the woman's voice perked up. An HOA stealing Christmas? Oh, we're on this. Can we send a crew out today? By 4 p.m., a news van rolled up, tires crunching over the frost-dusted street. A reporter named Claire hopped out, her red coat a splash of color against the gray day, followed by a cameraman lugging equipment. Lily Harper? Claire asked, extending a hand. Your story's already blowing up online. Ready to tell it? Lily nodded, nerves buzzing under her skin. She'd never been on TV, never spoken to more than a handful of people at once outside the diner. But as the camera rolled, she found her voice. She walked Claire through the empty yard, pointing out where the sleigh had stood, where the lights had shimmered. She held up Victor's note, reading it aloud with a tremble of fury. This isn't about rules, she said, looking straight into the lens. This is about power. Victor Grayson thinks he can control us, but he's wrong. I want my kid's Christmas back, and I want him to know his time's up. Claire's eyes gleamed. What's your message to Victor if he's watching? Lily didn't hesitate. Return what you stole, and then step down. You don't own this neighborhood would do. The crew packed up, promising the story would air that night. As the van pulled away, Lily felt a flicker of triumph, but she knew the real storm was coming. She was right. By morning, her phone was a chaos of alerts. The Channel 7 segment had gone viral, picked up by national outlets. Clips of her VYEW played on repeat. Her words, "This isn't about rules. This is about power," echoing across screens. Late-night hosts cracked jokes about the Grinch of suburbia. Memes of Victor's name plastered over dictator portraits flooded Twitter. In her inbox, it was a deluge not just from strangers, but from neighbors she'd barely spoken to. Mr. and Mrs. Callahan, the elderly couple across the street, emailed her about the time Victor fined them $50 for Leah VYing their trash bins out past 8 a.m. Tara, the single mom 2 houses down, confessed she'd been threatened with EVY tying over a trampoline her kids loved. Even old Mr. Russo, a gruff Vietnam vet, texted her a photo of a citation he'd gotten for planting tomatoes in his front yard. Too agricultural, Victor had sneered. The stories piled up, each one a brick in the wall of resentment that had been building for years. Lily read them all, her chest tightening with every word. How had they let this go on so long? That evening, the neighborhood group chat lit up. Saw a meeting at Lily's, 7 p.m., saw someone typed. Saw a time to end this, saw by dusk. Her driveway was packed with cars, and her Lee VYing room overflowed with people, some she recognized, some she didn't. They brought folding chairs, coffee thermoses, and fury. Jenna stood by her side as they hashed out a plan, a petition to oust Victor, a formal complaint to the HOA board, and a protest at the next meeting. He's not just a bully, Tara said, her voice shaking. He's a thief. My kids cried when they saw Lily's yard this morning. Then we fight for them, Mr. Russo growled, slamming a fist into his palm. All of them. The news kept rolling. Channel 7 aired a follow-up, this time with Victor on camera, standing in front of his pristine lawn, his tie knotted too tight. The HOA exists to maintain standards, he said, his voice clipped and defensive. Some residents think they're exempt. They're not, but his words fell flat. The anchor cut back to Lily's inter-VYEW, and the contrast was damning. Her raw honesty against his cold arrogance. Public opinion turned fast. By the next day, the HOA's Facebook page was a battlefield, flooded with complaints and demands for Victor's resignation. Behind closed doors, the board panicked. Victor had been their attack dog for years, enforcing rules with glee, but now he was a liability. The national spotlight was too hot, the outrage too loud. They called an emergency meeting. Residents allowed in by midnight. The verdict was in. Victor Grayson was out. No discussion, no severance, just a curt email to the neighborhood. Saw effective immediately. Victor Grayson is no longer HOA president. We apologize for recent events and are reviewing our policies, saw. The next morning, a pickup truck rumbled up to Lily's house. 2 HOA lackeys climbed out, heads down, and started unloading her decorations from the bed. Santa, the sleigh, the lights, everything was there, a little worse for wear, but intact. Word spread, and soon the street filled with neighbors. They didn't just watch, they helped. Mr. Russo hauled the reindeer into place. Tara's kids strung candy canes along the walk. The Callahans handed out hot cocoa from a thermos. When the last light was plugged in, the yard blazed to life, brighter than before. Someone cheered, then another, and soon the air rang with applause. Lily stood on her porch, Ethan and Mia clinging to her sides, watching the scene unfold. Victor was gone, finished. She'd heard he'd been spotted at the grocery store that morning, head low, ignored by the same people he'd once intimidated. His empire had crumbled, and in its place, something new was rising. As the crowd sang an off-key rendition of Jingle Bells, Lily smiled. She hadn't just taken back Christmas, given her neighbor something bigger, a voice. And no one, not Victor or anyone else, could steal that again. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY.